What if I told you that the girl wearing torn shoes and a faded dress, who was mocked by her entire school, would one day perform at Carnegie Hall? What if I told you that the same voice they laughed at would make her a millionaire before she turned 21? This isn't some fairy tale. This isn't Hollywood magic. This is a true story of Sarah Chen. And what happened next will shatter everything you think you know about talent, dreams, and the power of believing in yourself when nobody else will. But here's the part that'll give you chills. Sarah didn't just become famous. She discovered a secret about human potential that 99% of people never understand. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why some people rise from nothing while others stay stuck forever. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will either ignite something inside you that changes everything, or you'll dismiss it like everyone else and wonder why you're still watching other people live your dreams. Let me take you back to Jefferson High School in Detroit, Michigan. October 15th, 2019. Picture this. It's the annual talent show auditions, and the gymnasium is buzzing with excitement. Kids with expensive instruments, professional voice coaches, and designer clothes are warming up for their big moment. Then, in walks Sarah Chen, 14 years old, wearing shoes held together with duct tape, a dress that was clearly a hand-me-down, faded from too many washes. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail with a rubber band because she couldn't afford proper hair ties. But here's what made this moment different from every other underdog story you've heard. Sarah wasn't supposed to be there. She hadn't signed up for auditions. She was there because of a cruel joke. You see, Sarah was a girl everyone picked on, not because she was mean or different in some obvious way. She was picked on because she was poor. And in a school where status was everything, being poor made you invisible at best and a target at worst. Earlier that day, Madison Taylor, the most popular girl in school, daughter of a wealthy lawyer, had walked up to Sarah's lunch table with her crew of followers. Sarah was eating a peanut butter sandwich she'd made from supplies she'd gotten from the school's free lunch program. Madison smiled that fake smile that popular kids perfect and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Hey, Sarah, you should totally audition for the talent show. I bet you have an amazing voice hiding under all that. Well, you know." The cafeteria erupted in laughter. Kids pulled out their phones to record. Sarah's face turned bright red, but she didn't say anything. She just stared down at her sandwich, wishing she could disappear. But Madison wasn't done. "Come on, Sarah. Don't be shy. I'm sure you can sing just as well as you can afford things." More laughter, more phones recording, more humiliation. Then Madison did something that would change everything. She pulled out a crumpled dollar bill and threw it on Sarah's table. "Here's your entry fee. I'll personally make sure you get a spot in the auditions. This is going to be epic." Sarah looked up for the first time, and what Madison saw in her eyes wasn't embarrassment anymore. It was something else entirely. Something that made Madison take a step back. Sarah picked up that dollar bill, looked Madison straight in the eye, and said 5 words that would echo through that school for years to come. "I'll see you on stage." The gymnasium fell silent as Sarah walked to the center of the floor. No backing track, no fancy microphone. Just her, standing there in her faded dress and broken shoes, facing a room full of people who expected her to fail. The student council president, trying to be kind, asked, "Sarah, what are you going to perform for us today?" Sarah's voice was quiet but clear. "I'm going to sing Rise Up by Andra Day." A few kids snickered. Someone whispered, "This is going to be painful." Madison had her phone ready, no doubt planning to post Sarah's failure all over social media. But then Sarah opened her mouth, and everything changed. The first note that came out wasn't just sound. It was pure emotion. It was every sleepless night her single mother had worked double shifts. It was every time she'd gone to bed hungry, so her little brother could eat. It was every cruel word, every sideways glance, every moment she'd felt invisible. But it was also hope. It was determination. It was the sound of someone who had been broken but refused to stay broken. By the second line, the snickering had stopped. By the chorus, you could hear a pin drop. By the time she reached the bridge, kids were crying. Teachers were crying. Even Madison had lowered her phone. Sarah's voice filled every corner of that gymnasium. Not just with sound, but with something indefinable. Something that made everyone in that room suddenly understand that they were witnessing something extraordinary. When she finished, the silence lasted for what felt like eternity. Then, slowly, someone started clapping, then another person, then another, until the entire gymnasium was on their feet, giving Sarah Chen, the girl they'd mocked 5 minutes earlier, a standing ovation. But this is where the story takes an unexpected turn, because what happened next taught Sarah something that would change her life forever. As the applause died down, Sarah looked out at all those faces that had ignored her, mocked her, dismissed her, and she felt something she'd never felt before. Not pride, not satisfaction, not even relief. She felt disappointed. You see, Sarah had been carrying around a secret her whole life. She'd been singing since she was 5 years old, not because anyone taught her, but because it was the only thing that made her feel less alone. When her dad left, she sang. When the bills piled up, she sang. When kids made fun of her clothes, she sang. But she'd never sung for anyone else. She convinced herself that her voice was just okay, that it was something she did to cope, not something special. Standing there in that gymnasium, realizing that she'd had this gift all along, Sarah felt something that would become the driving force behind everything that followed. She felt angry, not at the kids who'd mocked her, not at Madison who'd humiliated her. She felt angry at herself, for hiding, for playing small, for letting other people's opinions matter more than her own potential. That night, Sarah went home to their tiny apartment and made a decision that would change everything. She looked at her mother, who was getting ready for her night shift at the hospital, and said, "Mom, I want to be a singer." Her mother, exhausted from working 3 jobs, looked at her daughter and said what most parents would say, "Honey, singing is a nice hobby, but you need to focus on school. We need to be realistic about our situation." But Sarah had heard something in her voice that afternoon, something that told her realistic was just another word for settling. She said, "Mom, what if realistic isn't good enough anymore?" Here's where most people would have given up. Sarah's family was living paycheck to paycheck. They didn't have money for voice lessons, instruments, or recording equipment. They barely had money for groceries. But Sarah had learned something that most people never understand about success. Resources aren't the prerequisite for achievement. Resourcefulness is. The next day, Sarah did something that would become her signature move throughout her entire journey. She went to the school music teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, and made a deal. "I'll clean the music room every day after school for free if you let me use the piano to practice." Mrs. Rodriguez, who had been teaching for 20 years and recognized raw talent when she heard it, agreed immediately. But she offered something even better. "I'll give you voice lessons in exchange for the cleaning." For the next 6 months, Sarah practiced 3 hours every day, not just singing, but learning music theory, breathing techniques, performance skills. She watched YouTube videos on her phone, using the school's free Wi-Fi. She practiced scales while walking to school. She turned her entire life into a music education. But the real breakthrough came when Sarah discovered something that most aspiring artists never figure out. Talent without strategy is just a hobby. Sarah started studying the music industry, like a business student. She learned about social media marketing, fan engagement, revenue streams. She realized that in the modern music world, you didn't need a record label to build a career. You needed to become your own record label. Using her mother's old laptop, Sarah created social media accounts and started posting videos of herself singing. Not professional productions, just her, sitting in that music room after school, sharing her voice with the world. The first video got 12 views. The second got 23. The third got 45. Most people would have quit. But Sarah understood something about exponential growth that most people miss. Every small success built a foundation for bigger success. By month 3, she had 1,000 followers. By month 6, 10,000. By month 9, 100,000. But the real game changer came when Sarah posted a video that would change everything. She decided to sing the same song she performed at the talent show, "Rise Up." But this time, she dedicated it to everyone who had ever felt invisible, overlooked, or dismissed. The video went viral. Not just popular, viral. 5 million views in the first week. 10 million by the end of the month. Record labels started calling. Talent agencies started reaching out. But Sarah had learned something about power by then. She'd learned that once you prove you don't need someone, you suddenly have leverage with everyone. Instead of signing with the first label that called, Sarah did something unprecedented for a 15-year-old. She negotiated. She used her viral success to secure a deal that gave her creative control, a higher royalty rate, and ownership of her master recordings. Her first single, Invisible No More, debuted at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, her first album went platinum. By her 16th birthday, Sarah Chen was worth over $2 million. But here's the part of the story that matters most. Sarah didn't just become successful. She became a completely different person. Not because money changed her, but because she discovered something about herself that she'd never known was there. She discovered that the girl everyone thought was powerless was actually the most powerful person in the room. She just hadn't known it yet. 2 years after that talent show, Sarah was invited back to Jefferson High School to perform at their annual fundraiser. The same gymnasium where she'd been humiliated was now packed with people who had paid $100 per ticket to hear her sing. As Sarah walked onto that stage, she saw Madison Taylor in the front row. Madison, who had since apologized and actually became one of Sarah's biggest supporters, was cried before Sarah even started singing. But the moment that defined everything came when Sarah spotted a young girl in the back row. A girl wearing shoes held together with duct tape. A girl in a faded dress. A girl who looked exactly like Sarah had 2 years earlier. Sarah stopped her planned performance and walked to the edge of the stage. She looked directly at that girl and said, "I want everyone in this room to understand something. 2 years ago, I was sitting where that young lady is sitting. I was invisible. I was dismissed. I was told I didn't matter. But I want you to know something that nobody told me when I was your age. Your circumstances are not your destiny. Your current situation is not your final destination. The voice inside you that tells you that you're meant for something more, that voice is telling you the truth. Don't wait for permission to be extraordinary. Don't wait for someone else to believe in you before you believe in yourself. Don't let anyone else's opinion of your potential become your reality." Then Sarah did something that brought the house down. She invited that young girl on stage and asked her to sing with her. The girl, terrified but inspired, joined Sarah for an impromptu duet. And guess what? She had an incredible voice too. That moment, captured on dozens of phones and shared millions of times, became the defining image of Sarah's career. Not just as a singer, but as someone who understood that success without significance is just noise. Sarah's story teaches us 3 fundamental truths about human potential. Truth 1, your current circumstances are not your ceiling. Sarah was poor, overlooked, and dismissed. But she understood that where you start is not where you have to finish. Your zip code doesn't determine your destiny. Your bank account doesn't define your worth. Your current situation is just your starting point, not your destination. Truth 2, talent without strategy is just potential. Sarah had a gift, but gifts without development remain just possibilities. She didn't just rely on her natural ability. She studied, practiced, learned the business, and created a strategy. Talent gets you noticed, but strategy gets you paid. Truth 3, your greatest power comes from your greatest pain. Sarah's voice was powerful because it carried the weight of her experience. She didn't sing despite her struggles. She sang because of them. Your pain is not your weakness. It's your fuel. It's what makes your message authentic and your impact undeniable. Today, Sarah Chen is worth over $50 million. She's performed at Carnegie Hall, Madison Square Garden, and the Grammy Awards. She's won multiple platinum albums and has been nominated for 6 Grammy Awards. But more importantly, she's used her platform to create scholarship programs for underprivileged kids, built music studios in low-income schools, and started a foundation that provides instruments and lessons to children who can't afford them. She often says that her greatest achievement wasn't becoming famous. It was proving that one moment of courage can change everything. But here's what this story is really about. It's not about Sarah Chen becoming a star. It's about the moment she decided to stop being invisible. It's about the choice she made to bet on herself when nobody else would. Right now, as you're watching this video, you have the same choice Sarah had. You can continue to let other people's opinions define your possibilities. You can keep playing small to make other people comfortable. You can keep waiting for permission to be extraordinary. Or you can do what Sarah did. You can decide that your dreams matter more than your fears. You can choose to develop your gifts instead of hiding them. You can bet on yourself even when the odds seem impossible. Because here's the truth that most people can't handle. You already have everything you need to begin. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need other people's approval. You don't need to wait for the right moment. You just need to decide that you're tired of being invisible. You need to decide that your voice matters. You need to decide that your dreams are not too big, but your fears are too small. Sarah Chen went from being the girl everyone laughed at to the woman everyone wants to collaborate with. Not because she got lucky, not because she was discovered, but because she decided to discover herself. What if I told you that the same potential that was inside Sarah is inside you right now? What if I told you that the only difference between her success and your current situation is a decision? The decision to stop waiting and start working. The decision to stop hiding and start sharing. The decision to stop playing small and start playing to win. Here's what I want you to do right now. Take out your phone and record a video of yourself doing something you're passionate about. Maybe it's singing like Sarah. Maybe it's speaking, writing, dancing, creating art, or sharing knowledge. Don't worry about it being perfect. Don't worry about what other people will think. Sarah's first video wasn't perfect either, but it was real. It was authentic. It was the beginning of everything. Post that video. Share your gift with the world, because the world needs what you have to offer. The world needs your voice, your perspective, your unique contribution. And here's what will happen. Some people will love it. Some people will ignore it. Some people might even criticize it. But none of that matters. What matters is that you'll have done something that 99% of people never do. You'll have chosen courage over comfort. You'll have chosen growth over safety. You'll have chosen to be seen instead of staying invisible. 5 years from now, you'll either be living proof that dreams come true when you work for them, or you'll be telling yourself the same excuses about why you can't succeed. Sarah Chen didn't wait for perfect circumstances. She created them. She didn't wait for someone to discover her. She discovered herself. She didn't wait for permission to be extraordinary. She gave herself permission. The question isn't whether you have talent. The question is whether you'll have the courage to share it. The question isn't whether you can succeed. The question is whether you'll give yourself a chance to try. Because I promise you this, if a poor girl from Detroit can go from being laughed at to being celebrated, if she can go from invisible to unstoppable, then whatever dream you have isn't just possible. It's inevitable if you make the right choices, if you do the work, if you believe in yourself even when nobody else does. Your moment is now. Your time is now. Your voice matters now. Don't wait another day to start becoming who you're meant to be. The world is waiting to hear your voice. Let them hear it.